Hello everyone, my name's Joanne and I'm a visual storyteller. I use photography, using cameras like this one and more modern ones like this one to tell stories about the world, about people, about places and about communities. I've been in Tasmania, all the way across the world, making stories about people who live by the River Huon. I've been in the North Sea on a ship, bobbing about, making stories about fishermen. And more recently, I've been in Northumberland, making stories about women who found the land. Now we're going to make some stories about the people and the places that you know best. Let's take a look at some of the photos from the Portrait of a Town exhibition. Look at these images and use them as inspiration for your own portrait of a town. Think about work and think about play. Those are your themes. Think about how these images reflect that. These images are from a film camera. Many of them are in black and white. Do you recognise any of the places? Look how the interiors of the shops look so different and how fashions have changed throughout the years. Do you recognise any of the spots? Could you recreate any of the images within your photo essay? There's weddings, workers, people on benches, pet portraits, family portraits. These are just an example of the different photos that you could take as part of your photo essay. Next, there's a short break just for you to have a quick look at your handout, and there you can learn some techniques and top tips for taking photos. To show you some examples of what I mean, I'm going to take you on a walk with me and my dog Glenn around Berwick and Spittal. Are you ready? On your own walks around the town, you will need to take at least 5 different photos. These 5 photos will make up your story. When I'm doing a photo story, I always get 5 images that help tell what that story is about. The first one is an establishing shot. This tells you where we are. This will be a photo of Berwick. Be as varied as possible as this. This could be the high street. It could be the amusements in Spittal. It could be the town hall. It can be anything where you can tell where we are. So the establishing shot is all about place, showing everyone what this place is, where this place is, and your view of this place. The second photo that I always get is a portrait, a really strong portrait. As our themes are work and play, maybe your 5 images are all about work. Maybe your 5 images are all about play. Maybe it's a mix of both. Think about this when you're getting your portraits. With a story, you will want at least 2 portraits. One could be a really strong portrait that is closer, and you might get a second portrait that's a more full-length portrait, someone at a distance or someone doing something. There's lots of landmarks. Which ones do you want to include? Here I'm crossing the bridge as I go over to Berwick. This would be a good place to get viewpoints. Sometimes you can see people kayaking. This would be a good photo for play. Or you can see people fishing. This would be a good photo for work. When thinking about photo stories, I always get a detail photo. What do I mean by this? So this could be something that's very small that you notice. It could be the benches in Berwick that have the snakes on them. That would tell us about Berwick without being a big place photo, but it still tells us where we are and a little bit about the town. So remember, 5 key photos at the end. 1 about the place, 2 portraits, 1 detail, and 1 action photo of someone moving or something moving. No matter what that is, get some movement in there. Remember, look up, look down, look all around. You never know what you might spot. The beach is a good place to look at play. What or who can you see? Movement makes for interesting photos of play. Are your family or friends playing in the sea? Are they running along the beach? Is there a dog? What can you see? Can you see any buildings that look like they're from the past? Here I walked to the lighthouse after it had rained. Reflections make lovely images. Can you see the reflection of the lighthouse? When you walk around, can you see any reflections? This would be brilliant in a portrait or a landscape. Colours of buildings can make great photo backdrops. Remember to look at this, look around. Are there any yellow backgrounds, blue backgrounds, red backgrounds? Can you ask someone to stand by them and take a photo? Interesting shadows also make great photos. When making a portrait, it's really important to think about what's behind the person. Is it a wall? Is it a building? Could that be an interesting portrait? Or do you want something that tells us about Berwick and where we are? When taking a portrait, move around the person you're photographing. Make sure to get them from different angles. Is the sun behind them or in front of them? When the sun's behind, it's a more flattering image, but when it's in front, it's a brighter image. You might also be wary of glare. Here you can see I moved to the left to avoid the glare in the image. Glare is when the sun shines onto the image. There's so many interesting buildings all around Berwick. There's historic ones, newer ones, there's shops that are closed down on the high street. What does that say? You can photograph at different times of day to get different effects with your photos. If you really want reflections, go out after it's rained. If you really want high contrast images, go out at lunchtime. There's also something called a golden hour, which is the hour before the sun sets or rises. You could do this early in the morning, or you could do this on an evening. This is when the light is golden. That's why it's called the golden hour. It's a really nice time to take portraits, but it's also a nice time to take landscapes and see the town in that golden light. That's the end of mine and Glenn's walk around Berwick. We can't wait to see all your photos.